Okay, hi, good afternoon. Today I would like to present my study on enhanced constraint least square filter for wood texture classification system. My name is Lydia. I am from University Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The wood industry is an important sector that has significant impact to the country's economy. Hence, a proper inspection in the wood industry is vital for effective forest management. Wood species can be discriminated according to distinctive texture features such as positioning of the pores or vessel. This important physical characteristic will disappear when the trees are cut down and turned into timber logs. The wood surface texture will be the main source that can provide distinctive features even after undergoing chemical process. These features can be referred to IAWA list to classify the tree species, which contain universally standardized characteristics generally referred for wood species classification. It is very important to identify the wood species correctly in order to ensure that the wood merchandise has the required characteristics and features. Recognition of the wood species is vital in order to monitor the logging activities of certain wood species to overcome illegal logging. Automated wood recognition system is crucial in identifying the correct wood species to overcome the error caused by human expertise. Wood texture classification system consists of 4 distinctive models. Image acquisition, use a portable camera to capture wood texture images. Pre-processing image enhancement method. Feature extraction, distinctive features are extracted from the wood texture images. Classification, classify the wood species based on the texture images. Methodology, the input image, at first, the input image is enhanced using the constraint least square filter method, and the output images are further enhanced through the 3 stages as explained below. The first stage is constraint least square, is an improvement of linear filter where the deconvolution does not need information of the original image and noise. CLSF requires only the variance and the mean of the noise in the process of image restoration. CLSF is mathematically formulated as follows. Stage 1, unsharp masking, is very useful in removing both impulse and Gaussian noise present in the image. Unsharp filter is a simple sharpening operator which enhances edges and the other frequency component in an image. Stage 2, fast discrete curvature transform via wrapping FDCT wrap with cycle spinning. FDCT wrap is faster and less redundant method compared to traditional CT method. It is simple to implement and understand. Cycle spinning is used to avoid distortion during the denoising process. The study is executed on spiral translation of cycle spinning, example 1, 5, 10, 15, and 20. Results show better visual as well as PSNR are obtained. At stage 3, iterative fast discrete curvature transform via wrapping FDCT wrap with cycle spinning is implemented. This method is applied to improve the resultant deconvolution image restoration in terms of resolution gain. This study is executed on 6 iterations, 10, 30, 50, 100, 20, and 300. Process showing the change of the restored images in the continuous iteration and final restored image can be seen. This study employs ResNet 101 to extract the image features during feature extraction process. Pre-trained CNN ResNet model can only process RGB images, which input image size 224 by 224. The layer classification layer named FC1000 is used to extract features by using the activation method. Then, these features are used to train the SVM classifier. This study implements support vector machine SVM to classify the wood images. The image features extracted by the pre-trained CNN ResNet model are used to train the SVM. SVM is a classifier that performs nonlinear mapping in order to convert the training data space into a higher dimension. The algorithm will search for a hyperline in the newly mapped dimension in order to separate the samples that belong to different classes. SVM was applied due to its ability to solve high-dimension data, which is the challenge in classifying wood species based on texture images. Result and discussion. This figure consists of 5 different translation values applied in the cycle spinning. Graph shows that the best translation value is 10, since this value contributed to highest mean PSNR value for all 20 wood species. The PSNR of the enhanced images when applying translation in cycle spinning is between 78.4 to 81.3. In light of the texture image, the image quality improves as the number of iteration increases. There is no big difference after undergoing 100 iterations. PSNR is computed on the restore images after undergoing 10, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 iteration. The highest mean PSNR is achieved for restore image after undergoing 50 iterations. Hence, the optimal number of iteration applied in this work is 50 iteration. In the experiment, the test images were used to assess several image restoration methods with the proposed ECLF method for comparison purpose. Highest PSNR and SSIM value is achieved by the proposed ECLF method as compared to other image restoration. The precision and recall revolution metric were calculated to assess the effectiveness of the proposed wood species recognition system. Majority of the wood species achieve high precision, which is above 0.9 of value. Besides that, majority of the wood species also achieve high recall, which is above 0.9 of value. Final classification accuracy is approximately 98%. As for the conclusion, this research proposed ECLSF in order to restore degraded wood texture images. The enhanced images are then transferred to the feature extraction stage where pre-trained CNN resonance 101 model was applied to extract deep features from the wood images. Then SPM classifier is applied to classify the wood texture of the 20 wood species. The results showed that the proposed image enhancement method, ECLSF, attained highest value for PSNR and SSM as compared to other restoration method. Moreover, the classification accuracy of the proposed system achieved 98% accuracy, which better compared to the previous method. Thank you for listening.
I'm going to talk about the statistical analysis for the influence of COVID-19 measure on unemployment during the first wave. To do the causal analysis for the progression of COVID-19, there's two challenges. One is the data availability, because the data immediately available are in the form of table. There's no individual level data. And so one usually performs a timely descriptive analysis of pandemic progression. And this analysis, this descriptive analysis is without adjustment for population characteristics and updating pandemic situation. The other challenge is the pandemic progression. Then it's a very complex dynamic process. The measure yields outcome. Then outcome in turn influence the subsequent measures and outcomes. So the purpose of this talk is to illustrate how to use available table data to conduct a timely statistical analysis of pandemic progression, and also show how to estimate causal effect of measures in the context of a complex dynamic process. The data or the progress of pandemic for the first wave is that I divide the first wave into 3 quarters, quarter 1, 2, 3, 2020. So during quarter 1, I have the population density here. I only consider population density. That's X, and Y1 is the measured. I consider here only the Swedish measured compare with Danish measure, because Swedish measure is like the opposite with Danish. Danish is more aggressive, and Swedish is very mild, and there's a big controversy between aggressive and mild measures during the during the first wave. And the outcome, our outcome is the unemployment. That's so we have first quarter density measure, density outcome as unemployment P1, and the second that's before the pandemic, and then start pandemic measures outcome and measures outcome. Condition for the causal inference is that there's no other confounding covariance than population density and the latest outcome. And the other one, this condition is also called the assumption of no hidden confoundance, or the identifying condition. That means that in order to do the causal analysis with observable variables, we need some condition. That's the condition, because the causal effect cannot be observed and can only be identified and then estimate via observable variables. So we consider 4 different kind of causal effects. Causal effects number 1, which we only consider quarter 2. That's an increase in unemployment, Y2, under Swedish measure, relative Danish measure during quarter 2. Here it's the short-term causal effect, means the measure on during period 2, during the quarter 2 on the outcome during quarter 2. And the causal effect, we can use the observable, under the identified condition, we can use the observable variables. That's the means, compare the means for Swedish measure and Danish measure. We use linear link function and only the main effect for the sake of explication. From this model, we can get estimate p-value and 95% confidence interval for the causal effect number 1. That's causal effect number 1. Number 2, similarly, we consider quarter 3. It's measures on during quarter 3 on the outcome during quarter 3. So it's a short-term causal effect. And we also consider sequential causal effect. That's the Swedish sequence during the period during the quarter 2 and 3. Compare the Danish sequence during the quarter 2 and 3. And under these conditions, we can also use the measure during compare the Swedish outcome for Swedish measure with Danish measure. And finally, the causal effect number 4, that's the most difficult one. We compare the Swedish measure during the period 1 and during the period quarter 2 and 3. But 3 same, it's like mixed sequence, and it's impossible to observe. So we need to use some other conditions. The result, here is some result. We use both descriptive analysis and this statistical analysis and do the analysis. So the conclusion and discussion, the analysis of this paper reveals that mild Swedish measure had long-term poor influence on unemployment as compared to the Danish invasive measure during the first wave of pandemic. And this paper contributes to the literature on public health policy evaluation in two aspects. It's long-term, and the second one is with table data. Okay, that's some reference if you like to see. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Wang, for a wonderful presentation.
This is my topic is experimentation and analysis of waste reduction with various patterns in AI. I am the principal of the college, Huntsville School of Engineering. I'm working here. Before that, already is extension of this paper already I submitted in Italy. This is extension of the paper. What is it in Chennai or in metro cities? All the people are using it Uber and that is travels. Drivers will be they'll be using that driving the car in passengers in 24 hours or 48 hours. These type of things, because of money, they will be doing it hard work. They are accessing it. There is a accident or will happen, and then other things will happen. Taxis, such a things. How to avoid that accident? How to make that alertness of the drivers? That's the purpose. We doing it. These paper techniques, experimentation and analysis based detection is better than CAS. So what we are doing these techniques, what we are doing the techniques, before that what I done that driver face detection, that is facial recognitions. The facial recognitions, how it's possible to make that its face is it's not in anger or some in behavior response, thereby it's possible to predict. Now what will happen that there is a big problem to find out the face drowsiness. So what we are doing that accuracy method, we check that how that eye movement in the drivers, that type of things, eyeball movement. Based on the eyeball movement, how he will be tiredness or not. Otherwise, how the blinking content will be there in eye. There is a possibility for recognize the patterns of the facial representations. Such a things we consider, thereby we predict that the driver is not good method or driver is in somewhat in a dull or somewhat in active. These type of things is possible to identify in terms of eye movement, eye blinking content. This I done that exploration, how the eye blinking content, how it's possible to eye movement is happened. That and all we done that. So what methodology we done that in these techniques, facial deductions using OpenCV. That is OpenCV we are using algorithms. Secured mathematical analysis also we done that in predictions. And then platform you are using is OpenCV. And then prior knowledge of Python and another for collab. This is the abstract for the project. And then what is the introductions in eye tracking? We have to track that eye where that is going on, and then driver significance, large number of vehicle accidents. The focus of this is designing the accuracy monitoring upon the course of driver real time, and then blinking patterns we identified it. What are the techniques we use? That methodology techniques is software tool, and used is nothing but Anaconda and Python 3.8. And then algorithm we referred is called arsss algorithm, because two types of algorithms are normally in these directions. Mostly they use the binary pattern, arsss algorithm. Binary pattern is not possible to side view visible, it's not possible. So what I understand in last papers, there is a big problem in the face behavior systems. That's why we put the eye region detection system. Eye region detection system, I design and pattern is called eye pattern, already shown in the diagram. This type of pattern we decide there is a possibility for numbering a given. Based on the numberings, which nose will be what is that number, eye will be what is the number, mouth will be what is the number. This is easy to identify that numbering we trace, thereby we enhance the programming, thereby get that output. That type of things, eye related detection we done that. And then methodology we use that in eye methodology, eyeball movement, whatever we are using in 2D dimensions, we convert it in terms of gray color, and then pre-processing we are doing it, and then face detection we are saying it. Eye portions extractions, eye corners, eye camera, and then eye detections we use that ball movement changes is happened that type of things we done that. After that, what we are doing that eye blink detections, that is face, how the eye blink detections, we are taking the image in camera and then detecting the detected and then face detections and then we given that how there is a possibility for protected landmark detections. That landmark detections we given numbering. Based on the numbering, we identified where the eye is detected and then it's possible to how many blink content will happen and then segmentations and then variations we do that in terms of blink detections efforts in diagnose. And then flowchart we are doing that in eyeball detections. Face is detected and then eyeball is detected. There is a possibility for making that output we make it. This is the experimentation we did. First what we do in terms of facial landmark. First and foremost, we do the facial landmark. In this facial landmark, different approaches we attained. After that, we blink count how many blink count it's happened. We counted in blink count. This is the experimentation we carried out. Blink count, how there is a possibility for blink count in facial detections. Here, blink count count will be in terms of green color is there means it's blinking count. Otherwise, it's green color is not there means it's not a blink count. There is a possibility for horizontal. The test have been patterned in different people, different shapes and different sizes, different colors. The result is surprisingly very good at accurate eye when completely it's closed in blink rate rater. The eyes are not completely closed means the blink count will not be shown. This is the blink only we check the blink count, how many blink counts will be there in this. Each people, different peoples we take in it. There, how it's possible to find out the blink count and then how the graphical representations. If graphical representation which changes in depends on the timings or depends on the person to person that will be identified. So ultimately there is a different characteristics or different persons. There is a different what is it? Blink counts, blink face frame. All the things will changes. We identify that what is the blink counts. Once you got the blink count, then we find out the rate. What is the rate? What is that each pattern measure with blink rate ratios? How your blink rate ratios will be taken in graph. Based on the blink, that is tiredness is increased, means automatically we are blinking. That means what? Closing the eye means automatically it will be close the eye means automatically it's not possible to get the blink rate. So that and all we measured in terms of graphs. So easy to identify that in terms of blink counts and then blink rate. There is a possibility for control that face analysis or face detections and face recognitions. Thereby easy to communicate that Ola driver, Olo office or Uber office, this driver is most tiredness will be there. We have to cut the driver. This type of things, there is a possibility for patient safety systems using it. This face pattern recognition blink ratios. This is the conclusion. The paper provides information I blink out using FS OpenCV. We covered data sets with algorithms that are used in detection of eye blink. This work is in recognizing for eye blink code graphics. The study is face landmark detections. Second is coordinated, both the eyes identified. Threshold limit. That means each person having some threshold that I have the background, this illusion, background illuminations, all the things we have to consider. There is a possibility for making it effective blink rate count conduction. These are the references. Yeah, we taken the papers. Thank you for giving that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful research work and a nice topic of presentation.
Hello friends, good afternoon. I am Dr. Sunil Bishinde from Sir Parshuram Bhau College, Pune, and today I will be presenting you a comprehensive study of water dioxin cluster formation for different composition of water and dioxin. So first of all, we should know what are solvent clusters. So they are actually when you mix two solvents, there are chances that the two solvent molecules can interact with each other, and these interactions are quite stronger and they can get associated. So these are solvent clusters. And I have shown in this slide the clusters which are formed between water and 1,4-dioxane, which is our case study. Now, another thing that whether there is any evidence for the solvent clusters. Yes, there is evidence these solvent clusters can be separated by mass spectra and detected by the PIT. So they are present. So that is very important thing. Now, once we know that about solvent clusters, whether they impact anything, whether they change the properties or not. So actually in our own paper, which has been published, we found that the solvents, when they are mixed, they can change the properties. Here we are discussing about hydrogenation of benzoic acid in water and 1,4-dioxane. And we found that when the volume of water is 50 ml and volume of dioxane is 50 ml, that is 1:1, there we get highest selectivity and better activity for the catalyst. Another thing which we have found is higher solubility for the hydrogen gas. So you can see here, so in water, the solubility of hydrogen, and in 1,4-dioxane, the solubility of hydrogen is lesser. And if we see the mixture of solvent or binary solvent, there we get almost double solubility or almost 3 times solubility of the individual solvents. So there are some changes in properties. That's why we should understand what happens when you are mixing the two solvents or binary solvent systems. That's why we thought to studying this in detail. So what we have done, we have did very simple experiments like density experiments. So we have just what we have done, we have changed the percentage of water in dioxane, volume percent, and then we have seen the changes in density. So here what we find when we are calculating density, that when we are putting 30 ml water and 70 ml dioxane, we got the highest density. So some changes are happening at this composition of water and dioxane. So there are some changes. Then we have done another study that we were checking the boiling point for the binary mixture solvents, and we found that first the boiling point decreases as you add water, and then it starts increasing. Actually, this doesn't give any clue, or it doesn't support cluster formation, but still we have done this study and we found that it is increasing. Now the next experiment is viscosity experiments. Here what we have found, as you increase the water content in dioxane, your viscosity first increases and then it decreases. So here we actually get some clue that there is a cluster formation, because as the molecule size increases, the viscosity will increase. So here we get some evidence that's cluster formation. And again, if we see the changes are at 30% water and 70% dioxane. So that is very important. Then these were some physical experiments. Then we have done some instrumentation. For example, UV spectra we have taken for the various composition of water in dioxane, and it was around 300 nanometers. And what we have seen that the absorbance in UV, actually it increases when the composition is 30% water, and then it decreases. Again, it shows that there is some changes in the solvent when we are having this composition, and these changes can be increase in absorbance means there is some change in molar absorptivity, and if the molar absorptivity is changing, that means there is some change in the molecule level. So that's why this also gives some support for the cluster formation. So UV absorbance gives a strong support, viscosity gives a strong support. And next we did a study is IR spectra, infrared study for the various composition. Actually, you can see the various composition, IR for various composition in the proceedings. Here I have just shown 3 IR spectra because it would increase the presentation. So if you see that for 0% water, this is the spectra of your pure dioxane, and these are dioxane peaks. This I am showing that we have to see whether there is change in the peaks when you are mixing water and dioxane. So once you start adding dioxane, you get the peak for OH frequency, that is at 3500. Actually, it is greater because the hydrogen bonding is absent, and this is because you are having a lot of dioxane between the two water molecules. So that we can, and then I have shown you 100% water, that frequency you will get at 3300. Actually, it is because of hydrogen bonding. So when there is a hydrogen bonding, then the IR frequency reduces, and when it is absent, the vibration takes at higher energy energies or IR frequencies. It is around 3500. Now the important here is that if you see the dioxane frequencies doesn't change whether you dilute it or whether you keep it as it is. So what we have got it, that the cluster formation is mainly affected by water molecules because of their interactions or because of their hydrogen bonding capabilities. So that is what we got from this study. Now, at the end, I will just give conclusion for the study that boiling point for various composition of your binary solvent do not have any relation with the cluster formation. So the boiling point doesn't support anything. But viscosity experiments or viscosity will help you to get some idea about the cluster formation. That is, at 30% water, you understand there are some drastic changes in viscosity. The same is seen for the UV absorbance. And if you see the density, the same criteria or same changes we are seeing, that at 30% you are getting more density for the binary solvent mixture. So again, we are having the same changes at the same composition of the binary solvent. So what we get is that in the binary solvent system, we get cluster formation. And that cluster formation is that you will get at 30 ml water and 70 ml 1,4-dioxane. So when we try to get the number of moles, in 30 ml water, we get 1.7 moles, that is almost 2 moles. And 70 ml dioxane, it contains 0.82 moles, that is almost equal to 1 mole. So here we try to give the cluster combination that the cluster is formed majorly, it is 1:2. So that is what we conclude from this study, that whatever cluster form, it is in the ratio of 1:2. So 1 dioxane molecule and 2 water molecules. So that is the conclusion of the study. And these are the references which we have done for the study. And I would like to thank you for patiently listening. And if any questions, I will just post my email. You can ask on it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So myself, FW Thakre, and I am going to present the presentation on the topic performance of the group of barrettes subjected to vertical loading in the different types of soils. In general, barrettes are just like the piles, but mostly the piles are of a circular shape. However, the barrettes are of the shapes which are non-circular. Mostly the barrettes are rectangular in shape, but the other shapes such as the S shape, T shape, plus shape, I shape, and the L shapes may also be adopted. And these piles can be designed exactly as the circular pile. However, they have the greater horizontal and vertical capacities due to their higher specific areas, and this may lead to the economy. In the literature, it has some experimental work as well as the field work has also been carried out by the people, and they have found that these barrettes are very effective in resisting the lateral load, and that's why those can be adopted in the field where it is required to resist a very high vertical or the lateral load. In the present work, the performance of the group of circular and the barrettes of the different shapes rifting in the different types of soils were analyzed by using the finite element computer program MIDAS GTS NX. The effect of the pile shape, centerness ratio, aspect ratio of the rectangular barrette piles, number of piles in the group, and the soil type on the ultimate vertical capacities of the group of piles were examined. Two different centerness ratios of the piles, that is 5 and 15, were considered to study the performance of short piles as well as the long piles. 3 different types of soils were also considered, that is the clay soil, sandy soil, and C5 soil. The aspect ratio of the rectangular piles was varied as 1.4, 2.2, 3.15, and 4.9. The cross-sectional areas of the similar group of barrettes and the circular piles were kept the same to compare the performance of the group of the barrettes of the different shapes with those of the group of circular piles. So the following table shows the dimensions of the circular pile and the various shape barrette foundations used for the analysis in the current study. So here you can see that there is a circular pile. So a circular pile of diameter 2 meters has been adopted, and the corresponding cross-sectional area is 3.1 meters square. So the same cross-sectional area has been adopted for the different shapes of the barrettes. So for a rectangular pile, so the 4 types of aspect ratio, that is 1.4, 2.2, 3.15, and 4.9 was adopted, and the corresponding dimensions of the widths and breadths are as shown in the table. Similarly, for the T-shape piles, the width was 2.38 and the breadth was 0.8. And for the S-shaped piles, the width was 2.1 meter and the breadth was 0.67 meter. And for the cross-shaped piles, the width was 2.35 meter and width was 0.8 meter. Number of piles in the group was varied as a 2 pile in a row, 3 pile in a row, and a 4 pile in a rectangular arrangement. The spacing between the piles in the group was selected as the 3 times the diameter of the pile or the lateral dimensions of the barrettes. Then the analysis was carried out in the Iraj GTS NX software, which is a finite element based software. And the various steps in the analysis are number one is the geometric modeling, creating the analysis data, mesh generation, analysis condition, analysis of the problem, post-processing, and the result evaluation. So in the first step, the geometric model of the problem was created, consisting of the soil bed and the group of piles which is embedded in the soil bed. The dimensions of the soil bed was equal to the 40 times the dimensions of the barrette, and the height of the soil bed was equal to length of the pile plus 20 times the dimensions of the barrette. These are the properties of the soils which were considered for the analysis. 3 different types of soils were considered: clay soil, sandy soil, and C5 soil, and their properties which are shown in the table were assigned to the soil bed. These are the properties of the concrete which were assigned to the barrettes, because the piles are made of the concrete. So M30 grade of concrete was considered for the piles. This screenshot shows the meshing, and 10 node tetrahedral elements were used for the meshing in the finite element analysis. And then the plane interface element with a value of R is equal to 0.65 was used as the interface element. The self-weight of the geometry was also provided using the self-weight function, and a uniformly distributed vertical loads were applied on the horizontal 3D face of the pile cap. And the failure criteria was the load at which the total settlement attains a value of 40 mm was considered as the ultimate vertical load in this particular research work. And the analysis was carried out using the built-in commands of the software. In order to compare the results, a factor which is called as the improvement factor was introduced, and which was defined as a ratio of the ultimate capacity of the barrette foundation to that of a circular foundations, both with the respect to the similar soil properties and the loading condition. So the results are plotted in the form of a bar charts. So this particular figure shows the improvement factor for the group of short piles that is having L by D ratio less than L by D ratio is equal to 5 in a clay type of soil. So the blue bar shows the results for the 2 group of pile. The brown bar shows the result for the 3 group of pile, and the green bar shows the result for the 4 groups of pile. So since these bars are plotted for the rectangular piles with the 4 different aspect ratio, then the plus shaped barrettes, then the S-shaped barrettes, and the T-shaped barrettes. Similar results are also plotted for the sandy soil and for the C5 soil. And the important points which were noted from the diagrams were that the improvement factors are in the range of 1 to 1.85. Improvement factors are relatively higher in case of the C5 soil as compared to those in case of the clay soil and the sandy soil. Improvement factors are higher in case of groups of rectangular barrettes. Among the other shapes of barrettes other than the rectangular, improvement factors are higher in case of the S-shaped barrettes. Further, the bar charts were plotted for the improvement factors for the long piles having the L by D ratio equal to 15 in case of a clay soil, and then the sandy soil, and then the C5 soil. And the important points which were noted were that the improvement factors are in the range of 1 to 1.5. In case of rectangular barrettes, improvement factor increases with the increase in the L by D ratio of the barrettes in all types of soil. Improvement factors are higher in case of C5 soil as compared to those in case of the clay and sandy soil. Among the different shape of barrettes other than the rectangular, improvement factors are higher in case of the S-shaped barrettes. So coming to the conclusions, the important conclusions which were drawn from this particular research work are that the ultimate vertical capacities of the group of barrettes of the different shapes are higher than those of the circular piles of the same cross-sectional area, to the extent of 85% for the short piles and 50% in case of the long piles. Ultimate capacity of the group of rectangular barrettes are higher as compared to the group of barrettes of the other shapes. Ultimate vertical capacity increases with the increase in the L by D ratio of the rectangular barrettes in all types of soil, group of berets are more effective in C5 soil as compared to the clay and sandy soil. These are some of the references which I have referred for this particular work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sanjay sir, for your wonderful presentation.
And I completed Masters of Technology in Artificial Intelligence and Data Science from Department of Computer Science, Punjab University, India. My dissertation topic was development of web application using deep learning for classification of fish species. I did my research work under the guidance of Dr. Rajneesh Randhawa ma'am. So these are the presentation outlines, introduction, related work, data sets used, methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, and last is references. Introduction. It is essential to research different fish species in order to preserve and safeguard marine diversity and aquaculture. Geographically, the oceans encompass around 2/3 of the Earth's surface, and more than half of the 55,000 species of extant vertebrate are fish. There are 22,000 plus fish species existing. An important area of research is fish image recognition.
Please carry on. I've muted the participant.
Okay, sir. An important area of research is fish image recognition, notably in aquaculture and fish farming. In spite of its agricultural and commercial value, fish identification is currently thought to be a difficult and complex task due to resemblance in shape, color, texture, and size of fish species. Additionally, fish can appear in various orientations with different scales and with different body shapes. So fish classification system need strong and significant features. For the evaluation of fish stock and catch, as well as for seafood labeling, accurate identification is crucial. Identifying fish species can be useful to researchers studying the ocean, intellectual experts, and biologists. Recently, in an effort to progress research, many scientists have been persuaded to use image identification and classification algorithms. The analysis and processing of the enormous amounts of data produced by fish species would take a long time and would be impossible for a human to analyze. Thus, autonomous system detection is required. Taking inputs like images and producing outputs like type categories or probabilities for a certain class is a process of image classification. The identification of a wide variety of fish species is made easier by modern technology that uses deep learning AI techniques. Although progress has been made in the field of data generated in real time as well as for the improvement of long distance resolution, the existing researchers are still limited in their ability to detect or classify the freshwater fish. In other words, a work that specifically provides the classification or detection of freshwater fish species through the image processing could not be located. Motivated by this factor, the main objective of this study is to propose the development of a web application to identify and classify the image of a freshwater fish species. Now comes related work. A mobile application was created by Sneezchan P. et al. For the identification of fish species that are commonly seen in lagoon and coastal areas. Each of 38 fish species is represented by 40 images included in the dataset, which has 1520 total images. The most effective classifier was chosen using KNN, SVM, NN, decision tree, and RF. The algorithm with the highest accuracy, 96%, was KNN. Another recognition model with an accuracy of 98% was developed using the TensorFlow framework. A technique for identifying aquarium family fish species was suggested by Khalifa NEM et al. It lists 191 subspecies and 8 species of fish from each family. Deep convolutional neural network made up of 2 convolutional and 2 fully linked were used in the development of the suggested system. And the outcome is compared to CNN designs like AlexNet and VGGNet. Fish Detect is a fish identification application which is used to recognize freshwater fish species present in Malaysia and which was developed by City NMR et al. The experimental investigation showed the outcome of the suggested model is promising. The development of an autonomous system for classification that can identify and categorize Fish from underwater images and videos were proposed by Assange. Our validation accuracy of 98.03 is obtained after analysis on the dataset of 27,370 fish images. Monitoring fish biodiversity in their natural environment would benefit from the proposed method's effective replacement for the laborious and time-consuming manual recognition process used by marine specialists. The effectiveness of faster RCN and object recognition technique built on deep learning that enabled fish species identification without extra image preprocessing was examined by Prabha et al. The study tested the faster RCNN approach to other object detecting technique as SSD in order to assess how effectively it handled fish species detection, and the dataset used for this research purpose was the QUT dataset, and the accuracy they got is 80.04%. Next comes the dataset I have used for my research work. I have used two datasets. First is a large-scale dataset for fish segmentation and classification. This dataset includes 9 species, and this figure shows the different species of fish in this dataset. And the images contained in this dataset are popular in the Turkey Aegean region. Next comes fish pack dataset. In this dataset, there are 6 types of fish species, and the images were taken in location of India's Gujarat and Punjab, and in some region of Pakistan. Image augmentation was used on the fish pack dataset as part of the pre-processing procedure to address the severely uneven dataset. Due to prior augmentation, the large-scale dataset was already balanced. The data for 2 datasets were split when they were used for training, with 80% of the total dataset being randomly selected as the training and validation datasets, and the remaining 20% being used as the testing dataset. 80% given for training and validation was chosen at random, with 80% serving as the training dataset and remaining 20% serving as the validation dataset. Methodology. Artificial neural networks are commonly used to accomplish audio, image, and text classification tasks. Convolutional neural networks are commonly used for image classification. Convolutional neural networks are divided into 3 types: convolutional layers, pooling layers, and fully connected layers. Beside this, there are 2 important parameters, that is dropout layer and the activation layer. Convolution is a mathematical operation for combining 2 sets of information. Pooling layer is added in order to compress each feature map and minimize the image size by using the grid's maximum pixel values. Each node of one layer is connected to every node of another layer in fully connected layers. Deep learning is often used to tackle nonlinear issues. The convolutional layers values produced by the product of matrices are linear. So in order to transform data into nonlinear activation functions like ReLU, TANH, sigmoid, and many more is employed. Dropout is used to prevent overfitting by dropping out units in a neural network. And next comes the transfer learning models of CNN architectures. Those are AlexNet, VGGNet, GoogleNet, ResNet, MobileNet. AlexNet is an architectural model with 8 layers. The first 5 layers are convolutional layers with ReLU activation function, and the remaining 3 layers, with the exception of the last layer, are fully connected layers with ReLU activation function. Dropout layer was then employed to prevent the model from being overfitting. ImageNet dataset was used to train the model, and this model received images with dimensions of 227 into 227 into 3. This figure shows the architecture of AlexNet. MobileNet, which is made up of 2 blocks, which are a residual block with a stride of 1 and another block with a stride of 2, which are used for downsizing. Each of these blocks contain 3 layers, that is 1:1 convolutional layer with a ReLU. Next is a depth-wise convolutional layer, and another one is 1:1 convolutional layer without non-linearity. A convolutional neural network of 53 layers deep is called MobileNet V2. Design of MobileNet V2 includes a 32 filter initially fully convolutional layer as well as 19 residual bottleneck layers. The network can accept images up to 224 into 224 in size. And this figure shows the architecture of MobileNet V2. ResNet model, which is a 50-layer deep residual network that was developed using the massive benchmark image net dataset. This employs skipped connections to solve the vanishing gradient problem and takes pitches of size 224 into 224 as input. This consists of 5 stages, each with a convolutional and identity block. Both blocks has a 3 convolutional each. This figure again shows the architecture of ResNet 50. Results and discussion. A technique for determining a classification model effectiveness is accuracy, and accuracy is shown in the form of percentage. Large-scale dataset was used to train the MobileNet V2 and AlexNet models. MobileNet V2 model achieved around accuracy of 95% after 25 epochs. AlexNet model outperformed MobileNet V2 with accuracy of 99% after 5 iterations and a learning rate of 0.01. ResNet model was used to identify the different species of fishes that were included in the fish park dataset. Model's accuracy was 99% after 5 iterations with a learning rate of 0.001. And these are the confusion metrics using AlexNet. Second one shows the confusion metrics using MobileNet V2. And this figure shows the confusion metrics of fish species in fish park dataset on the test data, which is trained on ResNet 50. And then Flask framework was used to deploy the ResNet 50 model, which was developed using the fish park dataset into a web application. In the web application, the user has to upload an image of a fish species, and then the user will be presented with information on the fish species with a single click. Conclusion. This study examines the creation of a web application using various CNN type models. We have 2 datasets. One is large-scale fish dataset and other is the fish park dataset, which includes eatable freshwater fishes. The web application is used to identify the various categories of a particular species in the dataset. Every species has unique variants such as distinct colors and shape. Therefore, when we run an application on the provided dataset, we receive 99% accuracy, but this is constrained by the dataset provided and it cannot operate in real time. The reason is limited dataset. However, using these models in the future, we'll be able to make it operate in real time as well, which will be highly efficient and compatible for individuals who work in the fish farming and edible fish business. This can be helpful in aquaculture and fish farming. To implement these models with that much accuracy in real time, we required a very large number of fish species dataset. These are the references which I have used for my research work.
Thank you, Jagit, for your wonderful presentation. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. So, hello, my name is Dr. Mariam. I'm from Higher College of Technology, United Arab Emirates, and now I'm going to present actually about our paper, Consumer Protection Toward the Development of Consumer Protection Framework in the United Arab Emirates. The selected subject, which is actually consumer protection, it is a very critical topic in the UAE, with reference actually to UAE market, since it is a very new topic, and the government actually is motivating researchers to write more about consumer protection. So we selected this one. So our objective is to gain an understanding of the state of the literature from the works of the scholars, and also contribute to the consumer protection legal framework in the UAE. As you know, that consumer protection has a broad means, and it's not only related to a single discipline, it is actually related to legal, finance, host of many areas. So as a result of which, the review would be multifaceted, linking by the scholarly views beyond to multidisciplinary fields. Since the late 19th, the United Arab Emirates led other countries in the Middle East to implement and advance the legal framework to regulate and improve the protection of consumer interest in the market of goods and services. Also, Stage 2000 and his colleague 2000 also has described that consumer law is not only a partial at its function, it is reinstate the balance between powerful business and vulnerable consumers. So scholars agrees that the UAE legislation on consumer protection is a milestone in serving the interest of the consumer and protecting their basic right against, for example, unfair protection. And other scholars like, for example, M.Q. Dali and A. Ibrahim and M. Ubaydat and K. Ibrahim have also characterized the interface and the authority of Consumer Protection Department by the concerned ministry in the UAE as well. So what was our research objectives? First, our research objective number one was to analyze consumer protection in the UAE regarding the following aspects of consumer law: product advertisement, financial services, banking, lending practices, term and practices, any protection against unfair terms, and product safety. Our second research objective was to evaluate the trade-off between potential higher prices and higher quality standards. The third research objective is to evaluate the trade-off between potential and level of, the third one was to evaluate the trade-off between potential higher prices and a higher level of consumer protection also that is available in the UAE. Okay, so as you know, UAE is still a new country, and consumer protection topic, as I mentioned before, have also grabbed the attention of the government. So this is an investigative exploratory type of research. So the main purpose also is to explore main perception about consumer law that do not pretend to be fully representative of the UAE population. We use quantitative approach. So in this research, the target population is hard actually to find, and sampling frame also was not always to be achievable. We used the questionnaire. We used two types of questionnaire: slider questionnaire and max diff questions as well. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit some of the findings for our research. For example, in terms of misleading advertisement, product safety, financial services, and unfair terms and conditions. So, for example, regarding the level of protection that current legislation gives them about misleading advertisement, product safety, financial service, and unfair condition, the result was found that the highest one is the financial service. We have the mean of 1.74 and the standard deviation of 44%. Also, we use max diff questionnaire to actually clarify more about the topics, and also we see what actually the result of our topic. And this is an example actually of our findings of the our study. So what we found that there is an urgent need, okay, to kind of set some kind of references in the UAE market and kind of new rules and policies and procedures in order to protect the customers. It seems that clients in the UAE have misleading information about the product. They do care a lot about the product safety. As we can see, the protection level is 1.69. People also suffer a lot from the misleading information. Another thing is that the consumer protection, actually, the knowledge of consumer protection among UAE nationals, we found it is very weak. Okay, and this is the reason why our sample size was very limited. Okay, also, we would like also to do a further research on district choice experiment regarding the obvious trade-off between higher level of consumer protection and the higher prices clients are willing to pay, as for example, as warranties. Actually, and this is a very small presentation about our study. As I told you, it was like an investigation and exploratory study about consumer protection, and we are trying to border and wider our research to cover almost all UAE, not only Abu Dhabi, Emirates. And thank you very much.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Pil Viman from Northeast Regional Institute of Science and Technology, Arunachal Pradesh, India. And my co-authors are Dr. Srivato Chaudhary, and then one co-author is Professor Saibal Chatterjee from Mizoram. So as we can see, my topic is about growth and potential of organic value chain development in the Indian Eastern Himalayan region, that is Northeast region. Especially my study area is Northeast region, and a case study of a Subansuri farmer producer company. So first of all, I would like to share this brief content of my presentation. First, introduction, background, then we have objectives, methodologies, the present status of large cardamom growers, especially of my project study area. Then we have Subansuri farmer producer. There is my case study company, and then we have discussion and some few references, base references. So as from to start my presentation, I would like to give brief introduction of why this study is important and why we have done this study. Especially the Northeast region, they are defaultly known as organic state, but yet the government has set some organic certification processes. And by talking about the Northeast state study area, that is Arunachal Pradesh, and purposefully I selected Lower Subansuri district of Arunachal Pradesh. Why? Because the second largest large cardamom producer is from this particular district, that is Lower Subansuri. And in global importance, if we see that today there is a demand of clean food, organic food, we have that premium tagline. And despite this state, particular these Northeast states, they are default particular state, they don't use fertilizer or very less fertilizer. And as a default, they are organic state. But despite that, all these opportunities, these states are lagging behind to grab that opportunity. So with this study, we will try, our focus was, we have organizer, we have producer, we have missing links, and with the help of the study, we will try to bring all those problems, obstacles that these farmers particularly are facing in Northeast region. And demand, yes, yeah, already I mentioned, today we have witnessed that day by day increasing demand of organic foods, items, and particularly I selected the spices, that is large cardamom. And if we look at the record of India, the export, the highest second producer is that India, and especially the producers are like Sikkim state, then Arunachal Pradesh, then come the Mizoram, and all those other Northeast countries. And right now, the current scenario of agriculture system of Arunachal Pradesh still remain that substantially activity, that is all traditional method, focusing on one particular crops. And commercialization of all this is very new to the state. So under this privilege, the state, the central government, they have initiated some national mission, that is National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture across the country in India. And under those sub-mission, they have introduced this new program that is called Organic Value Chain Development, which is my focus area right now for this study. And we can see that value chain development of organic, targeting mainly to the state they are producing organic based products, agriculture products and food items. So my objectives of this study was to check, to present the present status of large cardamom growers in this region that I mentioned, especially purposefully selected that large Lower Subansuri district of Arunachal Pradesh, because that district produces second largest producer in entire state. and then to analyze the factor which motivated the farmers to adapt organic value chain development programs like I mentioned earlier, there is organic value chain development program. And the third objective of this study is how this integrated farming marketing of local product helping the local farmers, especially those marginal farmers. In Arunachal Pradesh, especially we have large land area, but cultivating area is very less. That is compared to 2 to 1 acre, right? So they fall under the marginal farmers. And then the fourth is objective of this study was impact of forming such cooperative collectivism farmers to organize some group of farmers. They come together to share their capitals, machineries. So this concept. So moving forward, yes, I would like to mention this is totally very qualitative research study, and this study involved both of primary and secondary sources. And primary data is especially collected through very intense face-to-face interview with local farmers, and then a local resource person, and also have a deep interview with already the farmers. They are member of such cooperatives, like I mentioned, FIGs, that farmers producer companies. And then move to the and now I would like to share some pictures of my field survey and interview with local farmers. So you can see that most of them are local farmers, rural. They grow large cardamom. And from my extreme right, that conversation with BOD, Board of Director members of my case study members. And then the outcome study and the survey all collectively. Now I would like to present the current status of cardamom growers, particularly in district of Lower Subansiri. So this data also shows that the starting of all those case crop that we are mentioning about large cardamom started on back to 2006, and that time it was very new and people were adapting that they exposed to such spices that has higher demand both in international and the national domestic market. And we can see the graph that it gets the peak around 2014 and 16 because of higher price people were ready to pay for this large cardamom, especially from the northeast region that are tagged with organic level. And then we can see that there is a slow decline of all those farmer activities around 2016 and 2020. And we can see the very low participation of farmers, the large cardamom farmer in around year 2022. And the reason for this is the main reason for this was the entire value chain management system. That is from starting to pre-harvesting, post-harvesting, and value addition process. And all this study will be about investigating about the process and how these people have faced problem regarding all those management value system. Here we can see unstable rise of large cardamom during all those years from peak to 2006 to 2022. The reason behind it is the entire value chain system was not organized. Now, when we talk about entire value chain management, pre-harvesting stage, that is pooling of capital. As an individual farmer, pooling a capital or collecting a capital to start large area of farming, especially to cultivate large cardamom, is very hard. And as an individual, if you approach to banking system, there is a less chance you can get a credit or financial facility from especially state-owned banks. And then we have also problem with the post-harvesting system. That is, after collecting all those cardamom dried capsules, there is a drying process problem, because especially in these rural areas, they used to dry those capsules through traditional method like smoke dry, sun dry, and this whole process takes a lot of time. And sometimes the buyers, or we can say the importers, they demand that smoke-free capsules because that can deteriorate the quality of capsules, large cardamom capsule. And then we have another problem they face, that is storage problem of large cardamom. If you don't properly store those capsules, it get infected with fungus and it can lose 1,000 lakhs of rupees. And then the last process we talk about is that is value addition, premium tax, packaging, and organic certification process. All through this take too long to certify that these products are organic. And then we have some other data that slowed the participant of these farmers are infected. That is not getting a very quality inputs, like mentioning that capsules or a plant, and especially lack of all those knowledge about plant.
Try to
They are
complete in
impacted.
maximum of
Yes.
1 minute. Time is exceeding.
Okay, sir, got it. And that's why we need to look into this area and redefine with such program that organic value chain development in the region. And these are some pictures that farmers attending orientation program organized by some private parties. And then we also have done some survey regarding why these farmers are happy, or how their response to all those farmer cooperatives. And the responses are like that. We have took 100 responded, that is from those mentioned 9 villages, especially from those areas that Luar Subansiri district. 53% of farmers have a very positive response regarding the cooperatives. And then we have around 24% of farmers, they have very neutral response because they are very unclear about the benefits and longer benefits about all those forming of farmers cooperatives. And then we have 23% of farmers, they are very skeptical about all those programs. And then we, in conclusion part, despite all those naturally blessed land and all those qualities, still the rural farmers of Arunachal Pradesh, they are not getting that the benefits, and state under the purview of deep field farming, but still laying the opportunities. And to grab this opportunity, we need constant monitoring, constant research of all those nationally implemented programs like this. And a whole and one more problem that we come up with during our survey, that is the uniform or organic certification process that is implemented, and that is around 3 to 4 years, and it demotivates farmers because due to the cost of all those certification process training. So and require more general mass awareness related to these schemes or more and more farmers join such cooperatives and can benefit what the intention of this these programs. That's all. So thank you very much.